welcome to Raivision's online TV global web vision, and today we're going to start a new segment, rather new series, which we are calling Girmit Focus. Recently, especially on the social media, there has been some talk about educating our community about what really Girmit is, what Girmit was, and what the Girmitians went through. So I dug up a series of articles which I wrote for an important and popular newspaper in Sydney, the Indian Link, during 2004 and 2005, a total of about 10 articles over 10 months. And I thought I'll provide a brief summary of what these articles said. And I wrote these articles when I started my PhD on research on the exile of Indians in Fiji, rather the indentured Indians in Fiji, and it came out as a thesis, In Exile at Home, and also a documentary film with the same name, In Exile at Home. So the first point I'd like to make, and which I made in the first of these Girmit Focus articles, which are now available on the Girmit website, girmitunited.org website, which is run by a colleague of mine, Vanita Nair from Brisbane. In that, what I've said is most of the people, historians, and even today make a big mistake when they see Fiji's Girmit in isolation. Fiji Girmit, as most people know, started in 1879 and ended in 1916. But what people do not know, or historians did not allude to over a long period of time, until Hugh Tinker's book came out, which equated Fiji's Girmit not only to the Girmit which started with the transportation of the first Girmitians, indentured Indian laborers from India to Mauritius back in 1834, and that in itself is related to the African slavery system, which the Europeans started about 200 years early on. In fact, the whole Eurocentric labor transportation, slavery, and Girmit started off way back in 1492, when so-called Columbus so-called discovered the Americas. That in itself is not the right terminology, because millions of people already lived in the Americas. So what happened soon after that is the Europeans decided that they're going to colonize the Americas, and soon after that huge transportation system was initiated by the Europeans, and which later on was backed by the royal family as well, and that is the transportation of some 40 million Africans to the Americas over 200 odd years. And as the historians state, most of the Africans who were captured and were transported or were being transported across to the Americas died during the transportation, and those who reached Americas were sold off like commodities, like animals, and they were basically made to work, provide free labor on the European plantations. So what had happened earlier on is when the Europeans went to the Americas, in a short period of time, they killed off majority of the Native Americans, some say up to 50 million. The figure who were which was killed is debatable, but there's no doubt there were millions. And what had happened in doing so, some were killed through warfare and shot down, and many others died because of the European inflicted diseases. But some total of that was that the Europeans now control the land, but they did not have labor remaining to work on the land. So that was the rationale behind transporting millions of Africans and who were enslaved and had to work on the farms for their life. And it took several hundred years for the slavery system to be abolished. And in those days, the communication was not as fast as today, so it did take. There were good people in Britain and Europe who objected to enslavement of human beings, and they finally got together, and the slavery was abolished. But that create a problem for the European planters in the colonies, because the freed Africans, quite rightly so, refused to work for the Europeans at the meager rates they were offering. And if they did, then more than likely they would have continued to provide their labor in the same system as they were put to before they were freed. So by the time the British and some of the other European nations like France and Portugal, they ruled over India. Much of the northern India was ruled by the British, and the southern part, the Chennai, the Madras part, was ruled for many years by the French, and the Goan region, the eastern region, was ruled by Portuguese. So what happened is mainly by the British as well as by French. In case of French reunion, they looked to India to provide cheap labor in those colonies. So that started with the first a lot of Indians captured and transported to Mauritius, and it continued. And coming to Fiji, it was 50 years later that the same capturing and transportation of Girmitians to Fiji took place. So by looking at Fiji's case in isolation, which according to what I have read, most of the historians did and is still being done today, is not right. It has to be seen in the context of about 250 years of Europeans transporting human beings as commodities to many parts of the world. And how it happened in case of Fiji, and where the Girmitians were taken from, why they were taken from, and what circumstances in Fiji led to the first Governor General of Fiji to look at India for providing labor in Fiji will be looked into the following segments. For now, Satish Rai saying goodbye until we meet again soon, I hope. Thank you.